mentioning that Mike McCarthy, the former coach of the Green Bay Packers, has been preparing all season long as if he's ready for a return to the NFL in 2020. Very successful head coach with the Packers, wants to come back. He certainly still has the taste in his mouth and the blood pumping through his veins that he wants to coach. Don't think that Matt Patricia should be back with the Lions. I don't think that's an unpopular take at this point in time. I think plenty of people feel the same way. Is Mike McCarthy, is that the right kind of candidate that you want the Lions to consider? I'd love for them to consider him. I'm not saying he's the guy. I'm just saying that he's in the pool of coaches that I would consider to take over for this team in 2020. I think he's a really good coach and absolutely possesses a lot of the qualities that you would want in a head coach. He's an offensive-minded guy. Don't mind that at all. In fact, I could think of a dream team where he would be the head coach and maybe Ron Rivera come on as the defensive coordinator. But Ron Rivera may get another shot at being a head coach in 2020, so maybe he'll take the year off. Who knows? But that, to me, would seem like a really interesting scenario to get two guys that know what they're doing on the offensive side and the defensive side of the football. But it's not just about Mike McCarthy. And Lions fans have been down a road before when it came to finding your general manager via the television. We went through the Matt Millen experience, and it was an awful, awful experience. But there's another guy out there who is being talked about as a potential GM in the NFL. And it's Troy Aikman, former Cowboys quarterback, the Hall of Famer, now the broadcaster, the lead color analyst with Fox. He's a fantastic analyst, I think. I think Troy Aikman's great. He doesn't pull his punches when he's talking about what's happening on the field. I think he's an intelligent guy. And because he's been away from the game in terms of being a player, he's been up in the booth since 2001. This is nearly 20 years that Troy has been away from playing in the game, but he's still a huge part of the game. And it's been talked about before that he may be a potential general manager. In fact, this was brought up years ago. But he did an interview in Dallas at a radio station on the Ticket in Dallas, and he was asked if he remains open to the possibility that he could be a GM and if he thinks it could ever happen with the Cowboys organization. And Troy basically said that, yeah, he's totally open to becoming a general manager, but no, not with the Cowboys. Not with the current situation there, specifically with Jerry Jones being the guy. I mean, Jerry Jones is the owner of that team, and Jerry Jones really wants to call the shots, and that's not what Troy would be about. So that's interesting there. But Troy Aikman is a GM, and you start thinking about, of course, our experience with a television analyst becoming GM was horrible, absolutely horrible. Matt Millen was an unmitigated disaster. But other guys that have gone for the TV booth, if you will, or the analyst booth, to becoming GMs have worked out differently. John Lynch in San Francisco, they have turned that franchise around, and they did it quickly. And you can look at some of the success that the Raiders have had since Mike Mayock went over there with John Gruden, and they're starting to turn things around there. Made a tough decision to trade Khalil Mack. They did. It looks like in the long run that is going to be a very smart decision for the Raiders and what they got in return. It can certainly work out. And it has definitely worked out in San Francisco. Looks like it might be working out with the Raiders. Is Troy Aikman the kind of guy that you would like to see head up a franchise? Do you think that he has enough of it to be the guy? 248-539-9797. Or are you just absolutely no way would you even consider somebody coming from the broadcast booth to step in and become the general manager because it was such an awful experience the first time around when the Lions tapped Matt Millen to become the next GM of this team? Hard to think of something that worked out worse than the Matt Millen experience. So whatever the Lions decide to do, if they keep Bob Quinn or don't keep Bob Quinn, whatever, it's not going to be worse than what happened with Matt Millen. I mean, that's set in the basement level. The bar does not get any lower than Matt Millen. But how high of the bar raised would it be for if Troy Aikman were to be considered for this job?
Listen, just because it didn't work out with Matt Millen the first time doesn't mean you can never do it again. Just like if you draft a wide receiver one time, it doesn't work out, doesn't mean you can't draft one again. You know what I mean? Charles Rogers, but then you go back and get Calvin Johnson. You never know, right?
Right.
Listen, you brought up a couple guys already. John Lynch, it's working out so far. They look very good this year. John Elway, I think personally kind of lucked into a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, and then he hasn't done much since. And in fact, he's been very bad at finding the next quarterback for that team. He's
failed left and right, but he kept trying. He kept trying with the quarterbacks, and now he may have one with Drew Lock.
Mike Mayock, yet to be determined. Okay, there's other the Troy Aikman thing. I'm not completely against it. He seems. Listen, the only problem is he's never had any player pro personnel like job in the industry. He went from Hall of Fame quarterback, Super Bowl quarterback, right to the broadcast booth, basically, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like he has enough connections in the league. He knows enough. He doesn't sound like an idiot. I think he'll make the hard decisions. He'll shoot you straight. I wouldn't be totally against it. I don't think you could rule out not interviewing. If the Lions let go of Bob Quinn, I think you got to interview a guy like Troy Aikman. I personally like a guy like Louis Riddick myself. You know this.
Yeah, I know you're a big Louis Riddick fan.
But you got to interview everybody. You can't leave any stone unturned, right? This organization needs something. Troy Aikman may be that guy. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. Does he know the personnel side? I'm not sure, but I don't think you rule him out.
Yeah, I don't rule him out at all.
And he talks to a lot of coaches and GMs every Sunday.
That's the part of...
Or during the weeks, leading up to the Sundays.
The part of the broadcasting job of a television broadcaster, different than radio broadcaster. Television broadcaster, their national games, you're appealing to a national audience. These guys get their days ahead of time, and they do, you're right, King, that's a great point to bring up. They do interviews. They're able to sit down and talk with coaches and players and general managers and presidents and all that. They're able to sit and talk with these guys days in advance, on the record, off the record, and glean a whole bunch of information out of it, and that's why they can sound very well informed when it comes to Sundays. That's the major difference with, I think, TV and radio, is that they've got more time to put into it than radio broadcast is just you're broadcasting for your own fan base. And they don't have that same access that the TV grants them. You look at John Lynch, and John Lynch, I don't believe, as I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, I don't think he spent any time as part of an administrative role before taking over as general manager. He went, I think, straight from the broadcast booth to the Niners when he was hired back a couple years ago on January 29th of 2017. It can be done. It can absolutely be done. And no, because of the disaster that was Matt Millen, I don't think you should shy away from the possibility if you want to find the next GM. But what do Lions fans want? What do you people want? I know people are very upset right now with the regime, and understandably so. I'm done with the head coach. I think he should go. I think I would hold off on the Bob Quinn stuff until I had an exit interview. And my exit interview with Bob Quinn from the season, not like exit, hey, you're gone from the job, but done with the season. I mean, my questions would be, first of all, do you think Matt Patricia deserves to come back for a third year? And if the answer is yes, I'm probably hitting the ejector button on Bob Quinn. I'd need to hear his explanation before I hit the ejector button. Why on earth do you think he should come back? And I'm guessing that the reasons he gives are reasons we've heard other people say that I just don't agree with. Yeah, ejector button and you're both gone. But if he were to say, you know what, I think we can go in a different direction, okay, then I'm all ears. I'm willing to hear what your next direction and your new direction is. And I guess, like I'm saying, I'm willing to listen. It's not a guarantee I'd want to bring him back, because at this point, I'm leaning to not bringing him back. I think that the way the drafts have gone, there's a couple of nice pieces that the Lions have gotten under Bob Quinn, but not enough. There have been a couple of moves that he's made that I'd like, but not enough. Certainly like the Snacks Harrison move, but the Quandre Diggs one is one that it could really come back and haunt Bob Quinn in terms of his future tenure with the Detroit Lions. But 248-539-9797 is a telephone number. You can take a text us as well at 97136. Quinn and Patricia, Either or. Are you ready to move on? And if so, are you ready to move on? Would you consider Troy Aikman as the general manager of this team? Troy apparently is very interested in becoming a general manager in the NFL. Did an interview with Dallas and said he would not work out with the Cowboys because of the heavy hand of Jerry Jones. But give him a fair shake. Would you want that to happen here with the Lions, or are you so burnt on what happened with Matt Millen that you can't even consider it? We'll discuss it next year. 97.1, The Ticket.